I can't believe I haven't made this video sooner than I have. It's almost been 2 years since I showed you what my favorite iPad accessories are, and obviously a huge amount has changed with iPad since then. So I wanted to update you on what my favorite iPad accessories have been since then, so let's get right into it. Okay, first up is this iPad dock from Satechi, and I'm so frustrated I didn't use this in my previous video where I did a big iPad external monitor review, because this dock has absolutely everything you need in it to get your iPad into that more desktop-like experience. Not only does it hold the iPad really nicely, but you're also getting an HDMI out so you can plug it into a monitor, USB-A, USB-C, a headphone jack. You're also getting a micro SD card slot and a standard SD card slot as well, and that all plugs directly into the iPad from this cable on the bottom. And it's really nice because this folds up as well, so if you want to take it somewhere with you, if you want to take it in your bag or something like that, you can just fold it up and you're good to go, and it's really nice and slim. So yeah, starting us off, that's a really nice one there from Satechi. Next up is another one from Satechi, or Satechi, or however you say their name. It's this little USB-C Apple Watch charging puck. And this is kind of perfect for iPad because it's not only is it tiny, but you can plug it into the side of the iPad directly, and then you can pop your Apple Watch onto it and get that top up of charge whenever you need it. And because it's magnetic, you can actually charge your Apple Watch while you're typing or doing something else completely different on the iPad, as long as you don't knock it off. You may have seen me use this in my iPad Air day in the life video when I forgot to charge my watch, which is something I do quite often because I don't charge it overnight. I always charge it throughout the day or something like that. And it's just a little something I keep in my bag all the time that works really nicely with the iPad. Talking of baggable items, and this is something that's worth getting if you're into iPad at all, is to get a mini USB-C adapter which has got all of the inputs you could possibly need on it. This one I picked up from Amazon quite a long time ago, and it snaps neatly to the iPad, and it's kind of got everything you need. HDMI, USB-A, it's got all your card readers, and it's got a couple USB-Cs on the side as well as a headphone jack. I don't think they make this one anymore. It's kind of one of those strange unbranded £30 sort of things, but you can find them all over Amazon. The only thing I will say is the quality of this isn't great. The transfer speeds and things like that isn't fantastic, but it's great to use in a pinch if you need it. And again, it's just something which I keep in my bag and is especially useful for the iPad. Okay, next up is one you've seen on this channel a huge amount, and I've talked about it a huge amount, but I've got to mention it here because it genuinely is one of my favorite ways to use the iPad and one of my favorite accessories. This is the MagFlött from ChargeM Pro, and it really is one of the best ways to use an iPad, at least for me at the moment. It's magnetic, so you can just snap the iPad directly onto it, and I like to have it sitting next to my monitor, which lets me use the iPad through universal control, which means I can control it with the same mouse and keyboard. I've talked about that a lot, and I really like it, but it's also perfect if you just want to have your iPad next to your monitor, so you can just check it for things like notes, or if you want quick access to iPad apps. These stands are really great. You can rotate your iPad if you want to. Not only that, but I've been really lucky to check some out early. This one I'm looking at now is the MagFlött Pro, which has got an adjustable height, so you can move it up and down, which is really nice. And they've also sent out a VESA mount adapter one too, which is something I'm going to be checking out soon. I really love these stands. They kind of changed how I work with the iPad. They've changed my desk setup, and they've changed the way I kind of do a lot of things now, all for the better as well. There's loads of other stands out there, so definitely have a look on Amazon and see if you can find some, because I think for me at least, a stand and an iPad is just a match made in heaven, and I really like it. I know a lot of you out there like to use screen protectors and you want to pick up the right one for your iPad, so that's where I'm really happy to say today's sponsor comes in, Paperlike. If you don't already know, Paperlike is a screen protector for your iPad that makes it feel like you're actually writing on paper. The secret sauce here is the nanodot technology, which is spread all over the surface. This adds some grip and resistance to your pencil inputs, removing that unnatural feeling of writing on glass and replacing it with that familiar papery feel. Paperlike is also better than it's ever been before. It's now on version 2.1 and made in collaboration with a Swiss-based manufacturer. They're using new material composites, which means the distribution of the nanodots is much more accurate and the plastic used is way thinner than before. As a result of all of this, Paperlike 2.1 is way more transparent than the previous models. It's a notable step up in picture clarity, so your iPad screen remains much more visible and bright, so you can carry on drawing, sketching, note-taking, or whatever else you're doing on your iPad without being distracted. So if you want to protect your iPad screen and get that nice papery feel that you're used to, then I'll leave a link to the Paperlike 2.1 in the description below. And of course, a huge thank you goes out to them for sponsoring this video. Even though I haven't made this video in a while, there's one thing which stayed consistent, and that's the Apple Pencil. I really do think this is one of the best and most essential accessories for the iPad. Even if you're not into drawing and you just want to take notes, or if you just want to interact with your iPad on a more kind of finer detail level, these are great, but I do know they're really expensive. So what I did look into for this video was to check out the Logitech Crayon and kind of like a third-party rip-off Apple Pencil. This one's called the Meta Pen. This was £20 respectively, and this was £60 respectively. And for context, the normal Apple Pencil is somewhere between £100 and £120, depending which generation you're getting. Let's start with this Meta Pen. It looks just like an Apple Pencil. It charges via USB-C on the top, and it turns on and off with a tap. And it also snaps to the side of the iPad as well in a very similar fashion to the second generation Apple Pencil, but it doesn't charge, it just kind of sits there. So they've obviously got some magnets in here, which is nice. This feels very similar indeed. It feels cheap and plasticky though, is what I will say. But the actual writing experience and usage experience is surprisingly decent. You don't get any of the pressure sensitivity because that's an Apple Pencil only thing, but you do get kind of curvature. So if you can write normally like that, and then you can actually put it on its side and kind of get those bigger swoops of a pencil or a brush, not bad at all. And for £20, I don't think you can go too wrong. So if you're not too sure about getting an Apple Pencil, then something like this, like a Meta Pen, not too bad at all. The Logitech Crayon was actually really decent as well. It was a bit more expensive at £60. The design is definitely different here. It takes a while to kind of get used to this kind of oblong sort of shape, but once you do, it's really nice and I enjoyed using it a lot. I preferred this over the Meta Pen because it was just a bit easier to find and it felt a lot more sturdy to use, but both of them are decent. This one doesn't snap to the iPad sadly, so you have to keep track of it. And both of these pens you have to turn on and off, which is kind of a weird experience and very easy to forget to do, and you've got to charge them. Both of these don't pair to the iPad either, that you can just use them straight away. But in terms of usage, the Logitech Crayon was very, very good, and in a way very similar to the Meta Pen. You've got standard writing experiences, no pressure sensitivity, but if you write normally you get a nice standard look, and you can obviously tilt the pen as well and get more of those longer brush strokes if you're an artist or something like that. So to sum these two pencils up really quickly for you, you can actually get an Apple Pencil experience for really, really good value now. This £20 one was pretty decent, and the Logitech Crayon was a lot more decent and it felt a lot more sturdy, and you know, they're both coming in well under what Apple are asking for. So if you're not too sure, these are definitely worth a go too. If you want a full video on Apple Pencil alternatives, let me know in the comments below and I'll definitely look into it. Okay, next up is one which took me a really long time to come around to, but now I can't really imagine my iPad use without it, and that is the Apple Magic Keyboard. And now I know these are really, really expensive, especially if you need one for the 12.9-inch iPad, but they are really, really decent, and it's kind of fundamentally changed how I use the iPad. A couple of years ago, I was still happy to just use the iPad as a kind of a tablet first experience, but since these keyboards came out and since Apple made all the improvements with Stage Manager and things like that, a keyboard now more than ever feels like one of the essential accessories, and the Magic Keyboard case from Apple is potentially the best way to go. The reason I like the Apple Magic Keyboard is because you don't need an extra kind of thing to make the iPad clip into it. You just take the iPad on and off and it snaps in magnetically and you're good to go. There's no kind of case which it needs hanging around or any magnets you need to put on the back. And not to mention the general typing and keyboard experience on the Magic Keyboard is really, really good, and you get a nice keyboard backlight as well. Like I said, these are really expensive, so it's definitely worth looking at what Logitech have to offer because they've got some really nice alternatives. But there's also a huge amount of Bluetooth keyboards out there which will work fine, they just take a little bit more of a setup. Getting a keyboard really changes up how you feel and use the iPad, and it's really an essential accessory as well. Okay, this next one is for people who like to game on their iPads, and this is a recent pickup for me. This is the 8BitDo Ultimate Wireless Controller. I've been using an SN30 Pro from 8BitDo for a while, but I just found it really uncomfortable. But this Ultimate controller is kind of perfect in so many ways. It's similar to an Xbox One, which is what I'm most used to in terms of its thumbstick layout, but you get absolutely everything you need here. It's a rechargeable battery, you've got back paddles to customize if you want to, and all the buttons and everything like that feel great on it. Not only does it work on iPad, but it also works on Windows and Mac and Switch too. So it's kind of become my go-to controller for everything I do in the office. It also comes with a little dock as well, which recharges it, which is really nice. But for any iPad gaming I do, and for any Switch gaming I do now actually, this has been my go-to and I really, really like it. Lastly, one thing before you go, I always like to throw in a bonus thing, and this time round, this isn't a specific accessory for the iPad, but it's something you can use and something you can listen to while you are using the iPad, and that's my new lo-fi channel. This is kind of the official second channel of Byte Review, so if you enjoy lo-fi music to kind of help you get into work, then we've made a bunch of it and it's sitting over on another channel. We just released the second drop of it, which is actually playing here at the moment, which you can see, and it's all handwritten. There's no AI, there's no kind of shortcuts or anything like that. It's something that we've worked really hard on, and we really hope you enjoy it to help you get some work done, or to just focus, or to just chill out and relax with. So I'll link that below as well. Check it out. It's called Kuroko Radio. So that just about rounds up all of the iPad accessories I've been really enjoying over the past couple of years. But of course, I'm always open to suggestions, so let me know in the comments below if you think there's any others I should check out. That would be great, and I will see you all in the next one.